This is part two, where I'll explain more about when I sold and bought in 2005 when I was a professional real estate agent. And I want to explain I planned for 8 years to sell the two-story we had and to buy another house in the same area. I planned from day one that we would update the house and sell it and buy another house in the area. And that was always planned. And for 8 years, I planned to do smooth ceilings because it had cottage cheese ceilings. And for 8 years, I planned to do new kitchen counters. And in February '05, I did what I'd planned to do for 8 years. My reading says gang stalkers decided to frame me an overnight mother in February '05 because I spent money updating the house. Reading says they lied that she spent too much for a single mother on the house, so they needed to set her up. Now, how ridiculous is that? When a nice parent updates the house for their family, to want to set them up for what they did good for their family? And my reading says that's what they do to a lot of single mothers and unwed mothers. They frame them when they spend money, when they're good parents spending money for their family's lives. And that's a good thing to do. New carpet, paint tile to the family home for your family. And it's also good as a homeowner. And my reading says they plan to frame me February '05 because I spent money on the two-story and I had things done I had planned to do for 8 years. And I had planned for 8 years to update it and to sell and buy another house in the same area. So my daughters would be in the same school district, the same area, like an easy transition for them. I never planned to stay in the two-story house. And we lived there 8 years, and it was perfect for my daughter's childhood years because it was a suburb neighborhood with lots of children on the street, a huge backyard for kids to play. And in 2005, I bought a house that was good for their teenage, young adult years in the same area, and a good house for my mother to live with us in the house. And in 2001, I started shopping for the house to accommodate my mother, who never got to live in the house because gang stalkers ran us out. So what I'm explaining is the plan was for 8 years to sell and buy another house. My reading says they target parents who sell the family home, who file for divorce, who spend a lot on their house when they do it all for their kids. Everything good they lie is wrong when it's right, and target them to run them out of the house they bought that they worked hard to buy. And my reading says they plan to frame me, an overnight mother, in February '05 because I spent money updating the two-story. Now that is very hard to believe. And my reading says then they plan to target and frame me because I bought a one-story for around $1 million for my family as a good parent. And I worked hard for that. And I worked at that for 5 years. As in 2000, I was legally separated like a divorce. Then I paid the bills alone as a single mom real estate agent making a good income. And I paid the bills by myself without child support or alimony. I paid for horses, ballet, the mortgage, everything by myself, like a single dad real estate agent would do. It's the same thing. Just because I'm a woman, because I bought a house for $1 million, they decide to run us out when I could easily afford it. I had the down payment from the two-story, I had the income, the 790 FICO score, the loan approval with Countrywide, and I planned it diligently for 5 years as a real estate agent, as an expert in selling and buying. And in 2000, I did exterior paint to the two-story, off-white paint, and had been gold stucco. I had three-car garage, new garage doors put in for the three-car garage in 2000, knowing someday I was going to sell and buy. And then I had a tile roof put on with a whole escrow check I made selling a property. A tile floors done downstairs, landscape myself, knowing I was going to sell and buy. So I was updating the house to get a good price to have the money to buy another house. So this was 5 years of work that went into selling and buying. And that's a fact. And all the while I'm updating the house, I'm looking for another house to accommodate my mother. And to have a house in the same area is a good transition for my daughters. And in 2001, I showed my mother attached one-story homes near us to see if she wanted to buy a property near us. And she said, no, I want to live with you and your girls. But where will my bedroom be? She asked, because all the bedrooms were upstairs at the two-story house. And I told my mother in 2001 when I showed her properties, I said, don't worry, Mom, I'll sell the two-story and buy a one-story for you to live with us. 2001. So I searched every day on the multiple listing service as a real estate agent for a one-story or bedroom bath down, and decided I wanted a house with a clay tile roof and a spiritual ambiance, like a nice yard with mature trees. And I searched every day, and I wrote offers. I wrote 2 offers in a horse property neighborhood. I wrote an offer on a view home that had a view of the mountains, 1-story, 3-car garage, clay tile roof, similar to what I bought in '05. I wrote that offer in around 2001 or 2. And my daughter saw a couple of the properties I wrote offers on over the 4 years I was writing offers. I wrote 5 offers before the house I bought in '05. In '04, I refied the 2-story to take $20,000 out. To do the counters, I planned to do 8 years. To do smooth ceilings, I'd planned to do 8 years. To do new carpet and paint. And I remodeled my daughter's bathroom also. So I plan to update the house in '05, list it, sell it, buy a 1-story or house with bedroom, bath down for my mom. So it's very planned. I started working on my FICO score in '04 and got it up to 790. I qualified with Countrywide Home Loans for the $1 million house I bought, and it was very planned out, as I was a realtor who was always running seller net sheets, buyer net sheets for my buyers and sellers. So I did for myself what I did for them. I ran my seller net sheet and saw I had almost $400,000 in equity in my 2-story to buy another house with the money. Then I found the perfect 1-story house. I got a swing loan on the 2-story, borrowed my equity from it, paid it off when I sold the 2-story, $750. Voila, went perfectly. It was absolutely perfect, the house, and I plan to stay there forever. It was for my daughter's teenage, young adult, college, university years, for my mother to live with us, and they ran us out in '09, right when she was going to move in the house. My payment was $27.50 a month, and for 7 years, it was going to hold at that payment. I was going to refi it before it went up. I was going to sell more estates just by living in the house I bought. I bought a 2,500 square foot original house in an estate neighborhood that I knew would go up by adding on and by doing updates to the house. And it appraised for $1,450,000 in '06, which proves it. It's worth $2 million now. If I still owned it, I'd be selling it and making $1 million. And that's a fact, as I knew it would be. And I hurried to buy a house before prices went up. I bought an original dated house and updated it as a very smart real estate agent, knowing I'd have $1 million equity, it'd be easy to refinance